I am going to do step-by-step corsage and boutonnière training. Because it goes so long since people have done them. Since it's kind of like a summer thing, I really want to show everyone again all the specifics. And then once you guys do them, I need you to send me videos so I can see all your mechanics. I came prepared. I still don't drink very much, but I'm trying to work out my tolerance, so you know, it's kind of like taking a vitamin a day, except it's alcohol. Okay, so for orchids, there's two ways we can do it. We can go through the throat, like so. And when I go through the throat, I pull it down like so towards, so you're not going to be doing it like this. It'll be down like this. And then you are going to want to snip your stem. Hold on. Okay. Snip your stem. Oh my god, I didn't bring tape home. Are you fucked? Fuck me. Hi, it's me, I'm back. Okay, so I got tape from the store. So I'm gonna try and give as much information as possible in this tutorial. Light tape is what I was told we use because it is generally closest to the stem color, aka in boutonnière work, it actually looks like the flower that you are working with. So that is what I do, and that is what I would suggest. So, okay, I pinched around. Let me do that again. Okay, so I've got my flower pulled together like this. What I do is pull around and I pinch it like this. I don't know if you can see that. And then I switch hands and I try and do like a slow turn. Like so. And then once you get one turnaround, then you're kind of rocking. And then we pull to activate, and go down the stem. Yep, like so. So the goal is that you don't see any wire. And I can see a tiny bit there. So we'll just go around again. I would normally, if I had a pair, oh, I do have a pair of scissors. I always find it helps if you start with like a crisp end. So where was my wire? I could see it right there a tiny bit. And pull tight and spin. Bada bing, bada boom. And there's no wire to be seen. Okay? Whatever. Okay, so second way to do it is go down the throat. So I try and put my wire in on the opposite side of the little throat piece. Push it all the way down. And pull. So again, when he's like this, the way you're gonna wanna wire him is to pull your stem close and kind of like pinch together like that. And that makes it so that it is going to be strongest for if people are like bumping it and like moving it and stuff. Because if you just wire it like this, then this can pull out very easily. And then they're left with a headless boutonnière or corsage. So again, the way I go about it is I put my tape around to where the lowest wire is, like that, and I pinch with my thumb and index finger. And the pinch, I find, almost like activates the tape, so it gives you like a little bit of a base. And then I take a slow turn, squeezing it as tight as I can without busting the throat. And then we're gonna come down like so. And now you can see my wire, so I'm gonna go around one more time. And I find once you get that first one on, it's a lot easier to go and clean things up. If you try and get it perfect on your first one, then sometimes it's harder because the tape just doesn't stick. So I don't have to go all the way down again. So I just rip it and make sure she's clean. And you always do the tape check. If you're gonna go the opposite way and it comes unraveled at all, it means your tape isn't tight enough. So right there, my tape is not tight enough. Better. So you can't see my tape. So these are the two options. See how they basically look the exact same once they're done. This one, you obviously can see the wire in the throat, and you can bend them quite well. So it works. I would say the going through the throat gives you a little bit more manipulation. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna wire roses now. And I'll probably just do both types to show you. I brought roses home the other day and then I waited too long, so they're dead. So I also got new spray roses, and I don't know if these are for an order, and I apologize if they are. But I stole them, so you guys can tell the customer that it was my fault. Okay, guard petals off. Snip. That's pretty typical for length that you want your stem. So for these guys, you're gonna wanna go, it doesn't have to go directly to the base, but you want it pretty high. Come through. And then opposite, we're doing an X on these guys. I always give it a little spin. I don't know why, I just do. Okay, so again, you are wanting to cover up your wires always. So I bring my tape up to the very nape of the neck, and we do a little pinch. And the first time around, I try and just follow the neck of the rose, and we do a couple layers, and then I squeeze as tight as possible and spin all the way down. Like so. Okay. So you cannot see any wire. Looks good. Fin. Okay. And we'll do another one. You guys don't really need to watch me do this again. Make sure you're always taking your guard petals off and giving your boutonnieres a really good look over, because once they go out, the customer obviously is not going to know to do that, and they'll look dead. All right, we're going as top eye up, tight as possible. And another little pinchy number. So I kind of use both hands to keep this as tight as possible. And tight, tight, tight. And down. Now this one, I didn't do quite as good. You can still see a tiny bit of my wire. So I'm gonna go around one more time. So this is a perfect one. Because my wire that you can see is on this side, I'm gonna pull the tape this way and do my pinch. Boom. That. Okay. Now, rule of thumb, you're always gonna do your smaller on the top. And with the orchids, I always like to make sure that they're layered. So that the throat of the top one isn't hidden. Like so. You can also do like if it has to be a little sideways, that's fine too. What are we gonna do here? So there. Okay, now when we're doing it like this, you want your tape to go at the same beginning as the tape that you have on your orchid. And we're gonna go around. Now you can do two things when you do this. You can go all the way down if you're gonna be like wiring. Babies don't sleep. But if you're gonna just be like wrapping the top and then leaving the stems loose, then you don't have to tape all the way down. So that's how it looks. See? Okay, we're gonna try at least to get the rose one done. Okay, same thing, big rose on the bottom. Smaller rose on the top. So you're gonna have them layered kind of like that. That's how you obviously want the customer to have it on. And we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna take our tape and we're gonna go right along the upper portion of that rose. And do a tight spin. Like so. If these look like crap, you can pull them off, but if they look okay, I always leave them. Okay. I might do one more piece around that. It just doesn't feel super reinforced. So this one I went straight across. This one I'm gonna go up a bit just to keep that together. Maybe. Like that. All right. See? So you can't see any mechanics. And it just looks like the rose has a natural stem. All right. Let's put a little bit of baby's breath in this. Barf. Okay, so the way I do baby's breath is I pull these pieces apart to make a little poofy. Snip the ends. Then I come up the stem, kind of work my way through the little poof. Sorry, I don't even know if I'm in the frame. Into this. And down. I pinch, and then I take one of the wires and I do a little spin around. So the goal here is that if these get bent, that nothing is going to fall off. Okay, so same thing. We're going to go as high up as we can to cover our mechanics. Oh my god, she's back asleep. You need to see what she looks like. This house is like 90 degrees. Okay. A poofy. See? She's so bad. Okay. So we're gonna put our little poofy up in there. Again, I try and kind of keep my lines consistent. So this guy's gonna kind of end right there. Now, I can tape this right now, but I don't feel like I really need to because I have a good grasp on it. It's not like a stem that's like slipping a lot or anything like that. So I'm gonna hold off on taping because when you tape too much, your boutonniere gets really thick. When I first started them, I noticed that my boutonnieres were always really thick. And it was because I was taping so much because the flowers would just slip on me. So it's how I kind of felt confident doing it, but now I try not to tape quite as much. Okay. My recipe is almost always a piece of Italian ruscus and then Israeli, and then you can add other stuff if you want. Sometimes you need 2 pieces of Italian. I try and clear off these little guys, little nubbies. So I usually try and put him so he looks pretty right at the back, and then I pull off any extras. So anything that's gonna be below your tape line, you gotta get rid of, like that. And this one here, I'm like not loving because it's got a hole in it, but I'm not giving this to any customers, so I'm gonna leave it. But if that was you guys, I would not use that. Okay. So now I'm taping my Israeli my Italian and my baby's breath. And we're gonna go back to the base. Pinch, come around. And usually when I'm doing these, I'm just doing like a quick one kind of like layer. And then I'll finish it off at the end. The little nubbies just make your boutonniere thicker too, so that's why I get rid of them. Okay. I could probably have my baby's breath out a little bit. I kind of want them a bit fluffier. So I have so far. I would really like another leaf like here, so I'm gonna wire this guy. So we're gonna do, I'm gonna go through. So you can do a stitch for anything like Israeli Ruscus. I do more like the stitch, which is like 2 pokes through. And for anything skinny like this, I do a single. The only thing with this is you just want to make sure you're taping it really well. So I fold over the leaf and I almost like squeeze it together. So at the bottom it looks a little deformed, but this guy's going right at the back, so that's okay. The biggest problem you'll notice when you do any sort of these ones is if you pull too hard, it'll rip the leaf right off. So you want to make sure you have a pretty good hold on there. And then I'm going to put him exactly where he needs to go. Just right there. And then honestly, all I'm gonna finish off with is some ruscus. Okay. Okay, I only wire this if I need to do something different with it. So if you need to like have it at the front, you gotta wire it. If you're gonna have it lifted up, you need to wire it. But if you're just finishing, then I was always taught you don't have to wire it. So that's the way I do it. So basically what this is going to do is finish off your boutonnière. So you kind of wrap it around everything and it like cocoons it in. Now this one I always find is the trickiest at taping because it moves a lot as you're doing it. So I pull around, and again I'm trying to get right under my rose. And then this is my finishing one, so I'm gonna go all the way down unless I was leaving stems exposed. But I typically only leave stems exposed if I'm using like a bunch of a bunch of eucalyptus or something where you're getting like a true stem, not a taped stem. So this guy here, I'm not gonna leave stems exposed because it's literally all just wired. All right, like that. So then you usually have to kind of like move him forward so he actually sits right. And then I fluff, move them around. You can always put little extra pieces like before you put this. This is always your last step. Always, always, always. Because it's what finishes off your back and makes it look really clean. And that's kind of what I'm saying, where you don't have any mechanics. But before you put this guy on, you can always put like, you know, your ruscus or your eucalyptuses kind of like waterfalling at the front. Okay, so I'm gonna snip. I don't have any wire cutters here at my house. Like show. This one's pretty thick too. TBD. TBH. That's what I meant to say. Okay, now I noticed the other day there was some boutonnieres in the cooler with the pins in them, and they were just kind of like stuck in. I would like it if everyone could make sure when you put your pins in, they are very neat and tidy and look very pretty. And also that they're not sticking out through or anything like that, so that if someone was to pick it up, they'd poke themselves. So you basically want to push pins up into the flowers and have them both sitting just pretty. Like so. Okay? And you should be able to like move things around if need be, fluff. Call her a day. And there's my rose boutonnière. Okay. I will do an orchid one quick. So this one I'll make it more natural. We're gonna do some seeded eucalyptus. Okay, so I find if you're going up the back with Uke, you typically don't need to wire because you're not going to be pulling him down and moving him. You're just going to be leaving the stem straight and natural. So that's what I'm going to do. But, so this guy here, I'm going to leave him straight. But this guy here, he's gonna kind of like pull out the front, so I'm gonna wire this one. And then I'm gonna tape both at the same time. So to wire this guy, I'm gonna do the same idea as baby's breath. We're gonna come up, we're gonna go down the V, like so, pinch, and around. That gives it a good base. And I love leaving these little leaves on because it makes it look just like super flowy and natural. I don't know how much I'm going out of the frame, so I apologize if you can hardly even see this. Okay. So this guy goes up. And this guy goes out. And then I'm going to tape right at the base of my neck. Do you guys miss my singing? Okay. Pinch. See, like you can't even see what I'm doing right now, I don't think. Pinch and twist. I hate when it rips like that. Okay. There. Now this guy, I'm gonna keep him fairly simple. I'm gonna do a Uke leaf out the back. Right, I'm gonna wire this guy. So I'll do a stitch this time. So you go through. Good God, I'm gonna have you guys on here for like 45 minutes by the time I'm done my corsages. Like so. And then pinch. And then I always, with my thumbnail, I kind of like pull it taut. And it, again, does kind of like an already like taped beginning by doing that. So then come down. And I'm gonna pop him up. So because I wired this one, I can kind of like have him more exposed than if I wouldn't have wired him. He would have, if I didn't wire him, he would have had to be like way down here, so you wouldn't even see him. It's kind of like that. I like it. We're gonna go around again. I think that's why I don't like when it breaks like that, because it makes it so you get like a thicker finish. Okay, and now we shall finish with trusty Israeli snip. Okay, so again, we are going to just cocoon the back. that. Curl her up. Bada bing, bada boom. And then I'm gonna try and get as close to the base. And roll down. And then you can kind of pull these forward if you need to. Snip. Okay. So again, I'm going to show you my mechanics. At the back, you see nothing but the leaf. Front, you see flower. I don't know if that was way too close. And pins go in. And the other thing I will say too is when you're doing, this is less for prom, more for bridal work. See, my pins are sticking out, I gotta fix that. You always wanna make sure your boutonnieres are cut the same length, roughly. Anyway, so you don't want like one stem ending here and the next one doing there. And you also wanna make sure that you tape over any loose wires at the bottom. And to do that, you can literally just do like a real quick pull and finish. Somebody's outside. Boom. Okay. Okay. Boutonniere is done. I'm back. Okay. Corsage time. So I've debunked my theory. I don't remember where I learned the orchid wiring, but I just did 2 through the, like through here and down, and I busted them. And then I did the other ones through the middle, and they definitely are stronger. So I'm going to revoke my suggestion of doing it either way. And I'm gonna say, let's go through the throat, because it feels stronger. Okay, so you can either do bow or no bow. If you're gonna do bow, I don't know, 4 loops is probably max. I mean, you can do 6, but only maybe if it's a thin ribbon. It's also very pretty not to do any bow. I prefer it that way, but you do a lot more greenery or fillers or whatever just to make it look really nice. And I ran out of wires, so I have to use the bottom of a corsage leaf. So do not follow my lead there. Okay. Now, you don't want your bow to be too big, otherwise it will overpower your flowers. That's like honestly on the verge of too big. I would probably make it a tiny bit smaller. Okay. Now, you would always wire this, but again, because I'm using this tiny little wire, it's not gonna work. Okay, now, I am going to do a half and half. So I've got half roses, half dendrobe. So I usually try and do one type of flower first. And if you start with your roses, usually you can fill the holes with your dendrobes. And then we're gonna just tape down and around. You can come in. I'm coming. We have a guest appearance. Joel Shepley. Come in here. Show your face. Okay. Dendrobes go next. Am I in the frame? So I kind of just find my holes. And put them in, but I don't like that. So now I'm gonna move my roses to one side and do dendrobes on one side. Here. This would be a lot nicer if it was all white. Purple and white. Okay, so that's what your stems are gonna look like, and you're just gonna tape around. This one, you don't have to get as close to the top as a boutonnière. And I just do a circle. This way. Like that. Okay. Okay. So now that I have them in there, they don't look perfect, so now I'm gonna move all my shit around. So I usually really do like when you do half and half with dendrobes and roses, because it just gives a different type of flower. I super dislike all rose corsages, but sometimes we have to do it, obviously. See, this is what happens when you make a tiny little stem. It doesn't stay in. It's not good. Okay. I do have one more, but I needed it for my blue thistle. So I'm gonna steal a bit of it. I just hope that you guys aren't sleeping watching this, because I'm testing you. Okay. Now back in she goes. All right. I'm gonna snip these guys down. And if you ever need like one more loop or one more tail, you can always just make one and then add it in. Tape. Now, I'm gonna wire my thistle. This is now gonna be a little shorter than it needs to be, but I can still show you. I don't remember. If I put it through the neck, is it strong enough? I don't know. Okay, I was gonna just go up, but it didn't feel like that was gonna be strong enough. I don't know if I've ever showed any of you guys like the hook one, but you basically like push your wire straight up the stem and then hook it and then pull it down. I was gonna do that, but this is such a big thistle, I wouldn't be able to get through it. That works really well for like daisies or like anything like that, like thin. So I ended up just going through that way and pulling down. I'm nervous for what kind of faces I'm making in this. Okay, and then I'm gonna find a hole. Like so. Tape. All right, now I've got everything taped together like that. My ribbon looks okay. I still will probably fluff it a little bit more once I get everything in there. Now I'm gonna go in with greens. Okay, so I'll do a seated. And because this is gonna bend so much, this should be wired, but I don't have any more wires. So again, I would come up, around, and down, but I'm not going to. Do not follow this example. And then I'm gonna put in some roscos. Now, this, okay. Because this is more like a woody stem, this is why I wire this. Because anything woody, once it breaks, it snaps. And if it snaps, that means it's gonna fall out of the boutonnière or the corsage. If it's more like a plasticky stem, typically they won't break the same. So I really don't wire Italian ruscus when I'm putting it around a corsage. But that's kind of the way, my rule of thumb, if you don't know if you should wire or not, obviously if you can, just do it. But if it's a woody stem, then wire it. Definitely. Now, any more seated, which the rest of my seated looks like absolute garbage. What is that truck out there? Oh, this late at night? It's crazy. Okay, so I've got 2 Italian, now I'm doing 2 Israeli, 2 seated and 2 Italian. It's coming together. So now I will tape. And again, you want all your stems only on it if they're above your tape line. So I've got a couple here that go below my tape line, so I'm going to cut them off. Okay. Now the only thing I think we could use here is maybe something in the inside. I just recorded that whole thing, me just looking for a screw to get into this. That's silly. Okay. Now you get to hear Joel's podcast as he showers. Lucky you. Okay, so carrying on. Now that we've got this pretty much done, what I would do if I could do something, if I had another wire, I would wire this and I would put that right in there because I think that looks pretty cute. but I do not have a wire, so that's what's gonna happen. Okay, now we're going in with our leaves. You really don't need many leaves. Basically, your leaves are gonna do the same thing that the Israeli Ruscus did for the boutonnieres, which is cover all your mechanics. So what we're gonna do, I always bend her, put it like that. Another, and put like that. So see how I'm just literally covering up all those little stems? Boom. One more. So 3 leaves really does it. I don't really need more than that. Again, I don't even have them so that you can really see them looking at the top. They're literally just to make everything look finished. I look like Gollum right now. I'm like hunched over like the biggest hunchback in the world. All right, so that's like that. Now I'm going to show you the back side. See how you don't really see any stems or anything like that. It looks clean. All right, now we get to add it to our wristlet. Okay, so the seam of your wristband is pulled down so that it's flat on the person's wrist. Like, see what I mean here? They don't have to deal with the seam. And then you fold these guys upwards so they're not cutting into the person's hand. And then what I would typically do is smother this with glue here. And then this gets attached right onto one of those leaves that we did. Joel, can you turn that down a bit? Okay, so I would glue it right there, and basically you want it so that you glue it high enough up on the leaf that when your base part here links up, it's still within the taped limit, and when it is curved around, it's gonna like hug this all really tight and still be underneath your corsage. So you're not gonna be taping it, or sorry, you're not gonna be gluing it like way down here and wrapping. You wanna go up, up, up. So remember, that would be glued, but I don't have glue. So then we are going to wrap this around the stems like that. And then I always use my pliers to tighten this to go around. It's not gonna work with scissors. But I basically give this a squeeze. Like that. And then we're gonna tape. Taping around. And then we cut off the stems. And then we go around the nub again so that you can cover up all those little wires. And then I kind of pinch and I pull it over like that, so you can't see any wires on the bottom of the nub. Okay, so now your corsage is sitting upwards, which you obviously don't want. So we're gonna pull everything down and basically move our entire corsage around so that when it sits on someone's wrist, it actually looks nice. And this is part of the reason why it's so important that you wire these stems here, because you now will be able to pull them down and they'll stay. Mine I couldn't wire because I didn't have any left. So it's popping right back up or it might break. And we're gonna pull our rose back. Pull our thistle, move our whole ribbon. And you want to be really gentle when you're doing all this, because if you break it now, you're fucked. You gotta start over. I just do little movements. So you're basically moving it so that your corsage is now not completely this way and it's starting to shift this way, so that when they're wearing it on their wrist, it's gonna look good from the side and not all shift this way. It's always gonna have a little bit of a favor to like being flatter against the hand because you design it that way and you have to, but once you can start moving it around, it sits a lot prettier. And take this back off. Let's shoot. Okay, so this is a perfect example of why we need to make sure we glue this super well, and why we tape this portion super well, because obviously mine's not glued at the top and you can see that it's starting to come loose. So what we have had happen before is that the corsage basically falls off the wristlet, and then we get complaints, or then someone calls and tells us, and it's super embarrassing. So you want to make sure that that's on there really well. And again, I don't have glue, so I can't glue the top portion on, but to give it a good kind of like test out and make sure it's not moving at all. So I'm gonna tighten this a bit. But mine's not gonna sit on here good because I don't have any glue. Okay, anyways, this is pretty much finished product. So sitting flat. Forward. And the last thing I would do, you can use a real or a fake leaf, cut it down and hot glue it right onto the nub, just to hide your mechanics there. Okay? So if you guys can all work on one of these this week, and then send me some pictures and videos of your mechanics. I think that's everything I wanted to say. Oh, there was one other thing. Okay, if someone asks for a magnet boutonniere, the way to do that is you're gonna get your, basically as far as we got. And then that's when we glue the magnet to the back. So you don't glue it down here. You want to go all the way up to the back so that it sits straight. And you're going to do a string of glue down. And then what I do is at basically the nape of your flower, and usually that ends up being the bottom of the magnet, I tape the rest. And then that way this still all looks like it's all uniform. And then if you have to wrap in wire, you still can. You can just wrap around both. So I can do that quick. Maybe. Round and around and around. That. So this is how it will look. Magnet is on the back. I would have glued that on. So now this goes like that. And then you would go around with your wire. Okay. Finito. There's your tutorial.